I wanted to talk to you about the experience of writing my traditions paper. First of all, I had two personal confirmations. One is that I disappear down a lot of rabbit holes when I do research. Um, I would like to think that this is because of my innate curiosity, but sometimes I fear that it's actually a form of academic procrastination. An example of this is when I found myself reading reviews of Moustakis' book, Phenomenological Research Methods. Probably not really necessary for writing this paper, but I went down that rabbit hole. I also was reconfirmed in the fact that I am wordy. My paper exceeded the maximum page length by 3 pages, and this was after whittling down and editing. And this has constantly been a problem of mine, and I should probably take an editing class. Let's see, as far as what I learned through writing the paper, I learned that quite a lot of qualitative research does not really follow the tradition that it claims it is following, or it's not grounded in the philosophy behind the tradition. I chose to write about phenomenology, and of the 3 articles that I read, 2 of them said that they were grounded in phenomenology, but aside from mentioning that they were studying lived experiences of students, and let's see, what else did they do? They did one other thing. Lived experiences of students. Nope, that was it. They just said that. They didn't talk about bracketing or reduction or any of those things. And it's not that they didn't use the academic language of phenomenology and used more commonplace words. They just simply didn't discuss those concepts at all, which I found very problematic. They also had way too many participants for phenomenology. One had 60 participants and the other one had 64. Neither of them used interviews. So there were quite a few problems. When it came to data analysis, they both cited, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Sharamaz, whose the title of her book actually has grounded theory in it. And while grounded theory and phenomenology are similar in many regards, they have different aims and goals. So these 2 papers used constant comparative methods, and that I don't really think is supposed to be one that's used with phenomenology, because I read one article that outlined 3 different researchers' views on how to do analysis in phenomenology, and none of them mentioned constant comparative methods. Let's see, I also found that, oh, I forgot to say though, my 3rd study was really very good, and it was a great example. It had 4 participants. It clarified that it was using hermeneutical phenomenology because that was the best choice for this research, and it explained why. They discussed bracketing. They discussed trying to understand the essence of their students' experiences. Lived experiences. They co-created meaning with their participants, and they followed Moustakis' method of analysis. And Moustakis is associated, known as a scholar in phenomenology. And I found that a lot of the writing from phenomenology emanates from the field of nursing, which Dr. Paulus already told us. And I also believe that there's probably a big push to make research design in the field of nursing more follow the tradition more so than it currently does, because there were quite a few articles with titles like Exploring How Heideggerian Philosophy Underpins Phenomenological Research, or there were articles that were focused on specific aspects of phenomenology, such as bracketing or interviewing. So, yeah, a lot of my reading came out of the nursing field. And finally, I discovered that the 3 texts we read for class in the module about phenomenology were probably among the most comprehensive. Um, I didn't find any articles that were better, nor did I learn anything new about phenomenology. I simply deepened my understanding of what I already knew. Well, I can't say I didn't learn anything. I did, but I knew the general concepts. This just made them more concrete, and I understood the assumptions a lot better after writing the paper. So that's a good thing. How do I feel now that it's done? I feel like I would like to read more about existential phenomenology and new phenomenology, particularly the works of, sorry if I butcher his name, Merleau-Ponty and Georgi, respectively, which really surprises me because I was not a fan of existential writing, never have been. I had to read some Sartre, I know I don't say his name right, when I was an undergraduate, and I thought it was so boring. Maybe I should try reading it again now that I'm an adult. But I think of him, Sartre, every time I see videos of Henri Le Chat Noir. I don't know if any of you all have seen him, but he's hilarious, and he is Henri, an existential cat who is filled with a great deal of ennui, and his little videos really crack me up. And I'm not even a cat fan. Anyway, I'll post a link to a video in case you would like to see Henri. Then the last question was about how this paper might guide my identification of a research question and a methodology with which to explore it. And happily, I followed Dr. Paulus's advice in the traditions paper assignment description, and I actually chose phenomenology because I already had a question in mind, and I still believe that phenomenology is the best way to study the question, and it is: how do pre-service teachers make meaning of their teaching context with regard to student diversity to inform the instructional cycle of planning, instruction, and assessment. So I think that would be really interesting, and I hope that it's a project I can carry out in the spring semester when I'm taking the next course in research design. So hopefully I'll see some of you in that course also. Have a great weekend.